Good afternoon. We are finally getting this month's afternoon service in, and but just wanted to tell everybody thanks for being here. Ryan's going to help us to start learning some more about songs and song leading and just song music in general. And I'm glad that you're here. I'm sure he'll tell you more of an introduction as he gets up here. But we are glad that you're here, and ask any questions that you want, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll try.
There you go. So, all right, we're going to turn it over to Ryan.
I know everyone's comfortable sitting where they are, but if you could move as close as you can to the front. Except for those who have babies. As close as you can.
See if we can get this songbird to move on. Let's see.
That'll be the hardest thing you ever do, is to get people to move.
Rachel up here.
And if you're a song leader and you're sitting in the back, you're the first person I'll call on to help us out with the class. So seat yourself there. All right. I think really appreciate Stan and the rest of the elders giving me thinking enough of my ability to lead this class. I definitely am excited to do it. I've been preparing for a couple weeks of re-reviewing music theory, basic music theory. I think that's going to be an important part of this class tonight. So I've titled the class for song leaders, and just as importantly, those that they lead, because obviously there's two groups of people in this audience. There's those that are qualified to lead the service, and there's those that are qualified to be in the congregation singing. So please don't feel like one or the other is more or less important, or one doesn't apply, because the more that you know how to lead songs, the better participant you're going to be. So a few caveats here. Can everyone read that? Can anyone not read that? Clark, can you read that? Okay. First is, I'm not a singer. I'm not a singer by trade. I think I did voice choir when I was a kid, but beyond that, no. I do know music, but it's been a really long time. So if there's something that you know about music theory, or something I'm saying that's going to benefit everybody else, please let me know. I also know how to read music, but I'm not someone that has perfect pitch that can find A right or C right away. So that's not actually necessary. The other thing is, we're going to be interactive. So I want to have everyone participate, obviously with the singing, but also going to be doing some hand motions and some other stuff. So ask that everyone be cooperative with that. It's not to be irreverent, but it's just to be instructional, right? So, and then please ask questions. This is definitely a place that I want everyone to feel comfortable to ask any question they want, and then I may answer it wrong, and we'll figure it out. And then one thing I really want to emphasize here before we go too much into the pressure of song leading is there is no right way technically to lead singing. You can lead singing standing up here and just starting a song, or you can do it exactly the way that you're supposed to with the hand motions and have the right key and everything. That really doesn't matter. What matters is that we're praising God, and that we're leading our brothers and sisters in Christ in that, and that's the worship piece. So yeah, and basically all this, really the purpose is that if we can be technically proficient as much as possible, the more likely we are to be focused on the actual content of the song itself, and to be moved emotionally by the song. And like I said, there may be many things you don't understand, and that's okay. Before we get too far, I want to embarrass people that aren't even here, which is great. Is this the pointer? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, on the top left, you'll see a young strapping couple. That's my parents. I believe in either the late 80s or early 90s. My mom actually, that's why we ended up moving to Cincinnati. She was pursuing music at UC. And my dad fell in love with her because she was in love with music too. And so he played guitar. Below her and my dad is my grandmother, Joan Rose. She played in the Louisville Symphony and also the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. And on the right, my sister, Megan, who I think she's visited here. She was the Carmel Symphony concertmaster, and then also has her own studio in Tampa. And then there's me as my very first cello concert when I was 3 years old. And then in the middle there, the gentleman there is my second great grandfather, who was a bugleman in the U.S. Cavalry. So just a lot of music history. So it's just been a part of my life. It's something I'm very passionate about, and I hope that it kind of comes out in this class here. So why do we lead singing? I don't want to read everything here, but we're commanded to sing. We have the example of the first century church doing that. There's also Old Testament precedent with Levitical priests. They, were tasked with leading people in praise. We also have the New Testament practice, as we talked about, and then the purpose of leadership, obviously, is to facilitate unity, so that we're all on the same sheet of music, and that, kind of that 1 Corinthians 12 through 14 kind of message, which is making sure that we're all having, an organized and edifying worship service. So that's really the purpose of leadership. It's not to say, look at me, I'm up here doing my thing. That's not why a song leader's up here. A song leader's to make sure that things are orderly and that we're concentrating on the right thing. So this is my opinion, as I put in bold here. But your job, I'm looking to the song leaders here, your job is to provide direction. Okay, so you're the person that everyone's looking to make sure that you are, having one direction in the way that you're going. I also, think that you should know the best of your ability the song and generally how it goes. So what that entails and what that implies is that as a song leader, you're going over the songs at least a day in advance or a couple hours in advance, and that you're comfortable with the song and how it goes. I think that's definitely a good practice to do, because if you don't and you're kind of winging it, I think there's definitely times where that's okay, because you're maybe trying to learn the song at the same time. But I think in general, it's just best for everyone's sake to know how the song goes and how it's counted, or at least have an ability to get it going. Also, push yourself outside of your comfort zone. It's not everyone is authorized by the Bible to get up here, and I think it's our responsibility as leaders to push ourselves, because we have that privilege and we have that responsibility. And then also picking songs leading with intention. I think what I'm trying to say here is that we have 2 services in the morning, at least the way our congregation does it. One is more focused on the Lord's Supper, right? And then we have the kind of main service or the main sermon, trying to tailor the occasion, right? So maybe not putting an invitation, I'm not saying this is wrong, but I'm just saying maybe not putting an invitation song or one that's more of a call to being saved right at the very first song, right? Or putting a communion song or one that's more focused on Jesus' death or sacrifice at the end of or the invitation should be. Again, I think praising God is praising God, right? But just a best practice. Being confident and instilling confidence in others. I've seen this in lots of different, I'm sure everyone has, in the professional environment. When someone that's leading you with a team, if they're not confident in what they're doing, you kind of are starting to waver yourself, right? So, being confident is sometimes just faking it, right? Just faking until you make it. Even this morning, I think I got lost a little bit, and I was just kept waving, kept going on. And that's okay. I think we're a family here. I think there's definitely time to be confident, and it's good to do that. But I think also understanding that everyone here is not going to beat you up for not counting in 4 properly, right? So I hope not. It hasn't happened to me yet. So, and then this is again my opinion, but I think generally the men that lead should at least know 2 songs that they can just pull out of their pocket, right? Because there's people that all of a sudden, decide they want to obey the gospel, and there's in our tradition here at this congregation, when they were in the back getting ready, we have men of the congregation leading singing, right? Just kind of having that by. So it's kind of like almost having a pocket 5-minute sermon in your pocket for, Wednesday night talk, in case, someone asks you to do that. I think every man that leads singing should be having at least 2 songs to where they can go and do that. So, and like I said in the first part of this talk, there's the song leaders, but also the members of the congregation. So this is, I would say, in my opinion, the very most important as the member of the congregation is following the leader. Watching how they're counting. And if they're not counting, trying to hear what they're singing and then match that. It's not really very supportive, in my opinion, to kind of strong arm the beat or strong arm the key per se. I think there's a little nuance to that, in case someone's maybe not as confident. But I would say, trying to, as best you can as a member of the congregation singing with the leader, to follow them. That's just a good thing to do. And then, like I said, the worst thing in my opinion you can do is just ignore or kind of go with your own sort of situation, because that can almost exacerbate the problem if they're not exactly confident in their ability. Also, we're going to talk a little bit, well, actually a lot of it, about music theory, and we'll get into what that means. But also push yourself as a member of the congregation to learn more about music, to learn more about singing and researching different songs, putting up ideas to song leaders or trying them yourself. I know I've tried to do that, and it's had mixed success in my opinion, but it's been good to push myself. And then obviously the more you learn about leading singing, the better participant you're going to be, right? So, okay, so actually let's everyone stand up. So that what we're going to start with is kind of like the mechanics of leading singing. So the first thing is, you can see this gentleman right here is I just pulled off choir director off of Google. This is the first thing. So you can kind of see he's standing tall. He's got relaxed shoulders. And then generally you're going to have, so everyone kind of match what I'm doing. You're going to have your right arm up, kind of like this, right? And then basically how you want to have your hand is like, just imagine you're holding a basketball like this, and then you're just going to rotate it 180, okay? So you're kind of like, you're like this, and then kind of, I do this with my finger, just because I'm used to conductors with the baton, and you kind of follow the baton when you're in an orchestra. But yeah, I kind of do this, and then you can count, you can wave your arm, you can kind of, I wouldn't recommend it for congregational worship, but there are conductors that kind of have a big range of motion and they're doing crazy stuff. But that's kind of posture in and of itself. And I think we went over the how to hold your hand. Your hand is a tool for direction and communication. So kind of wave your arm like this, slow and soft motion. This is kind of conveying soft singing, right? But if you do this is loud, this is fast, right? So you're conveying a message, you're directing, you're saying something while you're saying something. Does that make sense? You may be saying the lyrics in the song, but you're actually, with your hand, communicating something as well. You guys can sit down if you want. So hymns are actually a form of literature. Are there any English? I know there's a lot of educators, which is why I'm kind of nervous right now, because I'm teaching in front of teachers. But any literature teachers or English teachers in here? No? Okay. Well, I did look it up. There is, precedent to say that hymns are a form of literature because of the words and the art form of it. It's really poetry. Like the Psalms, right? We have songs in our songbook that are pretty much direct copies of some of David's Psalms, which of course is poetry. And poetry has several, or this form of literature, hymns, poetry, really sung poetry, have several key components. So really 4, but 3 we're going to focus on tonight with this class. We can definitely get into more if we want to do this again. But the first is rhythm. So we're going to start with kind of talking about rhythm. And please, if I'm saying terms that you don't understand or not familiar with, please stop me. But the first is, rhythm. So we sometimes call it meter. There's melody, there's harmony, there's volume. That's also called dynamics. So I might say dynamics versus volume. It's really kind of the same thing. So those are the 3 things I kind of want to focus on with the terms and some of the exercises we're going to do. And then the last is going to be lyrics. Obviously, that's kind of like, in my mind, that's kind of set in stone. The lyrics are what they are. You know how to read. But I would say that the skill of hymn worship and reading music and the music theory kind of meets the road with rhythm, melody, and volume. Any questions at this point? I also understand that I'm the only thing keeping you between the Patriots as well and Seattle. So, any questions?
Know that music is a universal language. No matter where you go in another country, this is going to be the same.
That's true.
You may not understand the word they're saying, but if they're singing just as I am, you're going to recognize that in your own tongue. Now, this is what I've been told.
No, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I mean, I think even for myself, I mean, you can even listen to like a really beautiful piece of opera. They're singing in Italian mostly, right? And it's still beautiful. It's still a beautiful piece of art. And you're right. I mean, it does speak to the heart. Music does, for absolutely. Anything else? Anybody else? Where we go on? Okay. How to conduct a hymn. So I was talking about the dramatics and everything. So this is Paavo Järvi. He was the conductor, or they call him maestro. He was the conductor of the Cincinnati Symphony. This is actually my dad's photo of him. And he is a Grammy Award-winning choir conductor that ended up in the Cincinnati Symphony. I don't know how that happened, but very, very cool. But you can kind of see that he's kind of got the dramatics. We don't want to do that, right? We're here not to make it about us. We're here to lead. And I think there is a necessary thing to do with your hand, or not. You could just kind of sing it too. But I want to kind of get us to the next level, maybe for some that don't know how to necessarily conduct. But there is sort of an art form to it. All right, so this is meter. We'll start there. There's kind of 3 different meters that are common to hymn music, at least as we sing it. There's many different types of hymns all around the world. But these charts that I've got here kind of reflect 3 different time signatures, which we'll get into. But I want to start with 2. So we can do 2 as 1, 2, 1, 2. You've probably seen me do that. Or you could do 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so let's all practice that. Get your right hand, your conducting hand. So you go 1, 2, 1, 2. And it really doesn't matter. You could do it this way. You could do it this way. It's not a sin to do it one way or the other. But yeah, just generally this is 1, 2. So that's really showing you there's 2 beats in the measure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. And then there's 3. So it's a little bit kind of like 2, but then you add a little bit more. All right. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. So let's do 2 again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Any questions on that? Am I lost? Anybody? Oh, you're good? Okay. All right. So 4 is slightly different. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the best part about this is that you can practice this in the shower. You can be in your car driving on the highway. You can have one hand on the wheel, and then you can be doing this too. So as song leaders, it's something you can do anytime, right? It doesn't matter. You might look a little weird if you do it in the grocery store. But sometimes, like, someone will be leading a song, and I'll see the time signature, and I'll be just like, oh, how does that count? Oh, it's this way, and so it's just something to do. You can do it small, but it's just good to get in that practice so you can do it while you're singing. When I first started doing that myself, it was pretty difficult. It's kind of like strumming the guitar and singing at the same time, but you can walk and chew gum at the same time. You just need practice. All right, so let's do it one more time. We'll do 2 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. Does that make sense? So you go 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Perfect. All right, so sort of the math piece of this. Music is very math focused, and I'm an engineer by trade, but I actually really am not. It took me a long time to get good at math, and I don't know if I'm still good at it, but anyway. So with 2, there's 4 time signatures, and we'll get into time signatures, but there's kind of 4 different ways you can break down a section of music for it to be played in 2. So there's 2 2, 2 4, 6 4, and 6 8. So there's kind of 3 you can do. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4. So there's kind of different ways you can play with the amount of beats that get into 2, and there's certain things that kind of fit in that 2 meter. There's 3, which is 3 2 3 4 9 4 9 8. Again, don't be confused yet. Just let me confuse you a little more, and then you can ask questions. And then there's 4 4 2 4 4, and then the compound 12 4 and 12 8. So there's more time signatures than this, but in the hymns that I've seen, generally these are the most crazy that you're going to see. And the compound signatures are those who have 3 beats per 3 notes per beat. So kind of that 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 kind of deal. All right, so what we're going to do is look at some key signature or some time signatures rather, and I'm going to count, and we're going to sing basically this first verse, and then we'll take a break for a second. I'll talk, and then we'll just kind of keep doing this 5 different times, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I think for the first time, it'll just be me conducting, and then for the rest of the verses, I'd like you guys to participate with me, okay? All right, so we can see that this is, I actually can't remember the name of this hymn, but you guys know this one. It's Take My Life and Let It Be. Does anyone know that one? Maybe? Okay. So you'll sing with me, right? So you can see it's pretty blurry here, but you got the 2 on the top and the 4 on the bottom. That's called 2/4 time. So there's 2 beats to a measure. That's what that top 2 is saying. So every time that you see the number on the top, that's talking about how many beats are in the measure. And then the 4 is a little more difficult than that. It's kind of telling you what note counts the beat. Thank you. Oh, is that the pointer? Oh, sweet. You're going to see my shaky hand. There we go. So that's the 2. So that's how many beats are in the measure. And then the 4 is how many, or what note gets the beat. And we'll go into quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, eighth notes. We'll get into that. But basically there's quarter notes. And an example of a quarter note is right there. That's a quarter note. So there's 2 quarter notes in this one first measure here. So it's take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Sorry, I should have cued you guys in. But that's kind of, so I'm counting in 2. So it's take, and I'm just gonna sing this first part. Take my, you see that? And then that line there that you're looking at is called a measure. And that kind of breaks up, that's your zone of what constitutes how many beats are in that bounded area. Okay, so there's take my, that's 2, and then you have on the very top for the sopranos, or your soprano folks, it's 4 8 notes. Life and, does that make sense? So you got take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. And then what I'm kind of doing there at the end is I'm just kind of rounding it out. You could kind of keep counting, but it's kind of nice to kind of make sure that you're communicating that either the verse or the section is over. All right, so let's do verse 2. Can everyone read verse 2? If not, I'll read it out. Okay. It's take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Okay? All right, so everyone get ready with their conducting hand, the right hand. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. All right, let's do verse 3. We're just going to keep doing it. Take my lips and let them be filled with messages from thee. All right, verse 4. Take my will and make it thine. It shall be no longer mine. All right, verse 5. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at thy feet its treasure store. All right, perfect. So that's 2. That's an example of a hymn that's in 2. So for everyone, it's just good. One of the first things you're going to do is you're going to look on the very left side of what we call the stanza, or the first verse, or the pickup verse, whatever you want to call it. That very top left corner where the words start, you're going to look at 2 things. Well, a few things. Is it the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to look at whether it's a treble or bass, which we'll get into. You're going to look at the key signature, which are these little squiggly things here, down here, and then the time signature. And that's what we're focused on right now, is the time signature. So all those things are telling you, or getting you primed for how the song is structured. So we're talking about let's take this. All right, so this is counting in 3, in Christ alone. So it's sung in 3/4. I don't have the time signature up here, but just believe me. So there's 3 beats to the measure, and then it's 3/4, so that means a quarter note gets the beat. So if it's like 3/8, that means an 8th note gets the beat. You can kind of just almost like defy it. If it's 4, it means an 8th. Don't ask me, I didn't know the rules. So it's based, and maybe someone knows why they structure it like that. But basically, it's quarter note gets the beat, and there's 3 beats in the measure. And measures are the little vertical lines in between the notes. And then the pickup notes, especially for your song leaders, it's always good to, especially if there's a pickup. And when I say a pickup, it means kind of like an incomplete verse. It doesn't follow the rules of a normal verse in the song, but it's usually something that kind of gets everyone on the same page for the song. So, and I'm just going to do this part. So, in Christ alone. See, I'm not starting on, when I'm counting in 3, I'm not going down. I'm starting up. So, in Christ alone, my hope is, let me count it right. In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. See what I'm doing there? So I'm going, in Christ alone. So it's down, so it's wherever it was. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but it's a pickup. In Christ alone. All right, so let's do.
Hey, Ryan,
Yeah, go ahead.
how do you know when to start up or when to start down? Like I noticed that when you started on the
Yeah.
upbeat.
So that's the nuance of the pickup. So the pickup is kind of like it's like a preparatory movement. It's not you're not actually counting, you're kind of counting. Does that make, I don't know if anyone have starting in the middle, but the pickup is kind of a composer's way of getting everyone on the same page. So you're not saying low. See, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
How they structure the verse there. So let's do it all together. Let's do all 4 verses and then also conducting as well. So we're going to do the pickup first. In Christ alone. All right, sorry. In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. All right, let's do verse number 2. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless fame. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain. Verse 4. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. All right. Does that make sense? 3, 4. Are we confused enough? Good. 3, 1, 4. Okay.
So the other way to look at that is the partial measure.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, at the very, very end of the song, you have another partial measure. And when you add those two together,
And that adds up.
it makes a full measure a lot of times. And that way you can go from verse 1 to verse 2 without it seeming like there's a break.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That makes sense to me. And a lot of there's a lot of complexities too. There's a lot of like things that are in Italian in these hymns, and a lot of things that are going to confuse you with in terms of the structure of you'll be in one verse and then you go to the coda and then back to the beginning and then you go to the fine. There's a lot of kind of intricacies that you get into. So be careful when you see the song.
Hey, I think that song was not actually 3/4. I think it was 6/8.
It might have been. It might have been. It could have been 6/8, but you counted in 3, and that's there. 3, 4, and then you may have been compounded 9, 4, 9, 8. I need to look up what that time signature was. And there's also I've found that there's multiple hymns with the same words and like totally different notes and time signatures.
So the song book has different notes.
Okay. Yeah. But you're right. Like you need to be careful. You can't just say not every song's in 3, 4, and 3. You know, it's going to be in. Or, not every song is in simple time signatures, but you just gotta. That's a good rule of thumb. And if everyone wants that chart, I can definitely get that to them. This one's thank goodness 4/4. I love 4/4. Everyone loves 4/4. It's so easy. And we know this one, right? So let's do 4/4, right? So we're gonna do. That's how we do it. We're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we're gonna do. As the deer panted for the water, so my soul longeth after thee. And again, the thee, I'm doing that because we're ending this little stanza. We're not, this is not, it's going to keep going. I would keep counting to 4. I don't want to confuse people like that. But there's no pickup beat or anything, no pickup verse, no pickup at stanza or verse. Stanza is kind of like a stanza of poetry. It's kind of like it's a root section of prose, basically. And so that's an example there. So verse 1, 2, 3, and 4 are your stanzas or your verses. All right, so there's key signature and there's time signature. This is really interesting. So key signature, you can see there on this stack here, there's these weird things that says C major, G major, D major, A major, D minor. They're denoting a rules for the road, I guess you could say, is what notes are sharp, what notes are flat, given a certain key. So if you're in C major, for instance, or in the relative minor of A, you don't have any sharps or flats. So whenever you're singing, you don't really have to kind of look at your key signature and say, oh, I need to go up a half step or up a half thing. But then it kind of can get more complex given the key that you are. And that really is a structure of the song. And a lot of times the composer is going to fall, whoever writes the hymn, is going to fall within the bounds of that key signature. Any questions on that? I know that's kind of confusing. So basically that's how the tune is going to get structured in the bounds of that. So you have the measures, but then you also have key signature and time signature. And then we talked about the time signature over here, 4/4 as an example. And that's always going to be on the left side, right next to the clef. The clef we'll get into, I think, right here. So there's kind of 3 different clefs that I've seen. I think there's an alto clef as well. But generally you're just going to see these two. And you see it on your handle. Actually, just open up any one from the blue book. Actually, I need one for myself. Grab one. Turn to like any hymn you're gonna have. On the very left side, you're gonna have this one they call the G clef. Kind of looks like a G. It doesn't actually look like a G, but in a weird way. That's called treble clef or G clef. It's kind of the same thing. Then there's F clef or bass clef, and then occasionally, this is more for orchestral stuff. It's the tenor clef. So those are all ways of kind of grouping. I think for our purposes, it's really kind of determining your sopranos and your altos, and then your tenors and basses. Your sopranos and altos are generally going to be reading from the notes that are on that top one with the treble clef, and then your tenors and your basses are going to be operating on the bottom one, which is that F clef and that bass clef. Okay, so it really kind of it's allowing the hymn writer to create harmony by creating kind of 2 different strands of music, and they actually have, it's kind of 2 sub-languages within the language of music, because you can't, a note on the treble clef scale is not the same note as their bass clef scale, and we'll get into that as well. I know we're kind of getting into some nerdy, weird stuff. I'm trying to keep it high level, but that is generally what it is. Notes, if you again look at any hymn in your hymnal, there's lots of different types of shapes that these notes are making. And those notes are little things with the lines and the dots on them. They all mean, again, it's a language, so it's saying different things. So the top one, we actually probably find that folder. There's plenty of folders in there. You can find a whole note, maybe that's a trivia question. Which song has a whole note? But basically, a whole note means a whole measure, right? So it's spanning the whole measure, and if it's in 4/4, what that means is it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one whole note. So, and then half notes are basically that divided by 2. So it's 1, 2, that's 1 half note, 3, 4 is the other half note. And then you kind of keep getting further and further down. So you can kind of see that when someone writes a hymn, they're using a combination of all different shapes and types of note lengths, and that's creating the unique pattern in which
would be, I will call upon the Lord, because you have the holds, while the other part is singing.
Yes. Okay. What's the
It's 15 of them.
15?
And that's in 4/4 time, which makes
That's
it
in
a little
4/4,
easier.
yeah. See, that's everyone. That's the song leader's bread and butter right there. Yeah. So it's the Lord. So measure 2, or the second one, second little measure there, number 15. That's a whole note. Now I think it's double because it's kind of reflecting the tenor and the bass, as I understand. Again, hymns and choral songs are sometimes written a lot different. You can have a different style of writing. Notes on the scale. So we talked about rhythm. We talked about time signature. So we've been talking a lot about how a song is counted and how a song is kind of two-dimensionally like laid out. So it's bum, 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 rhythm, right? Not necessarily tone. So there's kind of like if rhythm is the x-axis, the y-axis is tone or notes as you're reading them. So like there's C, D, G. There's basically a 7-note scale and 8 notes making an octave. So if you go 8 notes from C, you're going to hit C again. Is that anyone kind of confused on that? I know I learned a lot of these basics when I was in elementary school, so if I wouldn't talk down anything, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. There's a couple monikers for specifically for treble clef, and we're not going to go into bass clef. We're not going to go into parts right now. That's not what I want to, and I don't think that's what the elders want either. I don't want to confuse anybody. We're just going to focus on melody and general basic music theory. So we're just going to primarily focus on treble clef right now. But if you're trying to find what a note's letter is, so each note has a specific label to it. So when it shows that kind of double down line, that line right here, so that line right here, that's a C. And a C has actually a vibration associated with it. So no matter where you are in the world, if you tell them, I want a C, there's a certain vibration that comes out of your mouth or out of the instrument that is C, right? So you can have C, a higher C, but it's still generally on the same vibrational wavelength. Not trying to get into the science of it, but basically there is a C, such a thing as a definitive C. Same with D, E, F, G. And again, the scale is measured and communicated in letters as well. But if it's on a line, you can remember every good boy does fine. That's a good way to see it. So you can see that the E here, E, that's that first line. Then the G, every good. Then the B, boy, B does fine. And then for spaces, you can see F, A, C, E. And then obviously you can go to the next. If you're kind of outside the bounds of the scale, you can just go to the next letter. Any questions on that? Okay, so that's just a good way to kind of, people talk about, oh, it's in the key of G, or we're going to start on a G. What they're talking about is a certain vibration, a certain note. Like, I don't know what that is, but it is a note, right? That has a label to it. All right, so conversely to notes, there are also rests. So in 15, another good example of rest is a whole rest. On that very top stanza, the little downward hat looking thing, that's a rest. That means that the sopranos are the ones that are reading that treble clef are not to sing for that measure. Okay, so that's a whole rest. It's like, you get a break, you don't have to sing. So that's why when you hear this song, the bass, I love this song so much. They'll go like, I will call upon, and the sopranos go, I will call upon. It's like this, it's this call and response, and that's the way that the composer is communicating that interplay, right? So rests are just as important, in my opinion, as the notes themselves, because they provide that contrast. So similarly to notes, there's whole rests, there's half rests, there's quarter rests, there's eighth rests, and there's 16th. And they are just as played with as the notes are. So you have, but the addition of the notes and the rests equal the measures. Just think about a measure as a bucket. You can only fill up so much of the bucket. And you can fill it up with two things. You can fill it up with notes or you can fill it up with rests. But it has to equal the contents of the bucket. So if we're in 4/4, which we are, if we're in 4/4, you can only fit 4 quarter notes in there. Or quarter rests. Or one whole rest or one whole note. Is that what I'm saying? So they have a way to fill up the bucket. How am I doing on time? Ooh, we are not doing well on time. So dynamics and volume, different ways. These are like a bunch of Italian words that just mean volume. So there's this we're very familiar with, I'm sure, is piano, and it's not the instrument. It means soft. Mezzo piano is a little, so like piano's like this. Mezzo piano's like this. Mezzo forte, fortissimo, and then whatever that one is. It just keeps going issimo. So it's really, another way for the composer to communicate a message or emphasize something or make something louder to make it more emotional. So Anne Ballard, her favorite song is Don't You Want to Go to That Land, right? And then in that one verse, there's nothing but peace in that land. That's piano, right? And then we go to I've got a savior in that land. See, it's a play on dynamics as well. So there's so many things kind of happening. It's like this 3-dimensional chess a little bit, and it's too smart for me. But if you overthink it, then it can get overwhelming. But you just got to sing it sometimes, right? This is a repeat.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice, and it's just an observation,
Yeah.
when we sing soft, we slow down naturally?
Yeah.
When you sing louder, you sing faster?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's-
I don't know
yeah.
what that is, but I've noticed it.
So throughout my time as a musician, that's true whether you're playing an instrument or singing or woodwind, whatever. It doesn't matter. I think what it has to do with is you're generally associating intellectually loud as exciting, so you're speeding up. And then piano, you're kind of tired, you're soft, you're in, and so you're slowing down. But that's a great actually point that I want to bring out too, which is as a song leader, that's another job that you have, which is when we are piano, keeping the beat, right? So being consistent with your counting, not slowing down. Because the more you slow, the slower we go, and then we're on the third verse, and it's 30 minutes in, right? So that's definitely a good thing to keep in mind, and thank you for kind of bringing that up. This is a repeat. I'm going to keep going faster because I would like to get to the exercise. Example in 238. Let's turn to 238 real quick. 10,000 angels. You see in the chorus where it says on the second page, it's got that thing. It's got 2 lines. It's got a darker line in bold and a thinner line with 2 dots in between. I think that's the B line, but 2 dots in between. What that's saying is when you get to the next one that kind of has the squiggly line, it's almost like bookends. So when you get to that bookend, what it's telling you is you need to go back to where the first bookend is. Okay? So it says, he could have called 10,000 angels to destroy the world and set him free. And now we need, so after that verse, we have to go back to he could have called. To set him free, he could have called 10,000 angels. Now here it's a little interesting because they have a first ending and a second ending. So what you got to do is after angels, you got to go to that little 2, which is the third stanza on that chorus. But he died alone for you and me. And I think a lot of us have sung this enough to where we kind of know you don't have to necessarily read that, but that's what this is communicating, right? So the chorus is, he could have called 10,000 angels to destroy the world and set him free. He could have called 10,000 angels, but he died alone for you and me. Make sense? Okay, so that's a repeat. DC Alfine, I don't even know if I want to get into this. But there's DS Alfine and DC Alfine and codas are all kind of, I get turned around with them. But basically they're signals similar to a repeat where you have a word that says DS Alfine. So it directs the singers to return to a symbol that kind of looks like a squiggly S. And if you turn to 221, so where's the squiggly S? That third stanza on 221, there's that with there's like an S thing right above that measure, and it's got the two dots and the line through it. We always called it the sign. That's how I remember it. So you sing, and then you go to when it says DS Alfine, you go to that squiggly sign. You sing that, and then you go to the fine, which is the end. Gotta love the Italians. Coda is a similar thing. I think this is, for the sake of simplicity, that's kind of the general concept, is that there's certain kind of nuances when it comes to some singing, that when you go to DC Al Coda, it's directing you to go back to that little sign and then sing that all the way through the end. So it's a similar thing, and then you can see that in 504. Teach me, Lord, to wait. Where are you, Coda? I think it just says Coda. That's the other thing. Sometimes a lot of these hymns, it's a very well put together book. I'm not saying that. I think what's happening is a lot of times these hymns are not necessarily standardized because they're coming from a lot of different ways of approaching music, and you're talking about hundreds of years of difference between these songs, right? And so it's hard to kind of get them all standardized when it comes to how the composers wrote the music or how the hymn writers wrote them. Sometimes it'll say coda, and this is the other thing I was going to get after. So refrain is a term that basically means hold off until the end. So we're going to refrain. If Hannah always says refrain from eating dessert until after dinner. I don't always listen, but I do refrain. And so a lot of times that's what it means. It means you sing all the verses. So let's go to 297 here. (297). What the Lord has done in me. So you can see there's 3 verses there in 297. Verse 1, let the weak say I am strong, let the poor say I am rich, let the blind say I can see. It's what the Lord has done in me. Now after that me, how I've done it, and how it, I believe it should be done, is don't go to Hosanna. You need to go to verse 2 and sing verse 2. Go all the way down, and then after me in the verse 2, go to verse 3. So you're singing those first two lines 3 times, and then you go to the refrain. Again, it's just an approach. You can absolutely, as a song leader, do the chorus, treat it like a chorus. But generally, that's what refrain means, isn't it? You're basically singing the verses first, and then you go to the refrain. And also, I think a lot of times when we do the slides, they do treat it as a chorus, which is totally fine. Again, not a sin to sing it as a chorus. Fermata, another sort of rhythm-based way for composers to emphasize things, but it's actually a good point for especially those in the congregation. When you see that, really look to the one who's directing and leading singing up here, because they may be holding it longer than you may be wanting to, right? Let's go to 291. Let's sing the chorus, actually. Oh, precious is the flow. Let's do that one. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Yeah, so I did that a little exaggerated, but that's the point, right? So that's when you see that the speed of the song? There are words that do kind of generally dictate, but it's subjective. It's really a subjective thing. It's up to the song leader, really, ultimately, to direct on how fast things go. So let's do just the first line of 291. All right. What can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. All right, we're gonna do it again, but a little faster. What can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. So it's up to the song leader. It's especially on Wednesday night if you could, song leaders not do it. It's pretty rough when that happens. But you definitely want to be a good team player and support it. And ultimately, you want to listen to the words, right? It's not, I kind of get, this is just my opinion, I just kind of get rubbed the wrong way. It's like, oh, I don't like that song, or I think that's an old song. For me, I just like, but have you read the words, right? It's very important. I love music more than anyone. Hannah is really annoyed when I sing all the time or have music on. I love music more than anybody. But I also realize that we need to be paying attention to what really matters and letting the words prick our hearts for sure. Any other questions? How to find the right key? That's from Harry Potter when they're one and she's singing and breaks the glass. So this is ultimately I don't know how much time. Yeah.
We usually do
I'll
it for
just
an
go-
hour. So.
Okay, I will. We can always save this for another time. But generally, what I want to say, and this is kind of the heart of it, is there's different keys. I'll just do this real quick. So there's something called movable do. When you were in grade school, or if you've heard a choir director, they'll go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's called solfege. And what you've seen is maybe in a movie or you've gone through music class, they'll do do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 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 re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. See how that's different notes? It's called movable do. So it's another system for singers to kind of get on the same page and also be on the same key. And what you can do, just really quickly, and I'll stop there. If you look at the bottom right of 292, there's this little code. There's a bunch of little codes everywhere in music. It's specifically to hymns. But basically, there's this little code that says G3 sol. Does anyone see that? All right, so G is the key. That's that first letter dictates the key. The 3 means you count it in 3. So what you're doing is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then the first note is sol of the scale. So I'll do it real quick. So if we're in the key of G, I'm going to use my little pitch pipe here. I'm going to find the G. Do, 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 re, mi, fa, sol. So sol is the first note that you're singing. So you don't have to guess. So you know where G is, right? G, do, re, mi, fa, sol. I don't know, oh, Happy Day, but that's the first note in the song. If anyone knows Happy Day, let me know. But we can do another one. 293, A flat. The key is A flat. Let me find A flat. A sharp. A flat. Do, do, do. I heard an old. So I heard an old story. So, but that's kind of low, right? So you can do do, do. So it starts on, it's A flat, you're going to count in 2, and then it starts on do. I'm confusing myself. You get the point. Basically, you're counting on, you're not counting, you're singing do, and that's the first note in the song. A lot of times they'll have the key signature be the same as the first note or the last note, but that's not always the case. So that this code really kind of helps you get in the right space. But as much as I say that there's all these rules and ways of determining what the key is and what the first note is, it's ultimately up to you and what your range is as a singer and what the congregation is and where they can be at. So you may have some really strong singers and strong sopranos that can sing really high, and maybe you go with the key, or you might have some, some maybe not so people with a bunch of range. I don't have a ton of range myself, but I think that's just something to be conscious as a singer. And if you want to learn more of that, maybe we can have another class, or I can do a break off for some of this complex stuff. But generally, this kind of makes it easy for song leaders, this code on the bottom right. But yeah, before I end here, is there any questions? Cool. Well, I will hand it back to the elders here.
So y'all got it, right? I appreciate, Ryan, we appreciate your expertise, your knowledge in that. And I think don't go out of here with your head spinning, because it is, just like Ryan said, there's a lot to this. And we just wanted the congregation to get together, to start learning some of these things. We'll have more classes that we'll be able to focus on some other practical, songs and things like that. But I think it's a good starting place for everybody to kind of understand from a song leader's perspective to when I'm in the pew following Ryan or one of the song leaders, what I should be doing. Just a personal note, when that last song that you had, I've heard that sung. What was the song? Happy Day. I've heard it done the same way. Oh, happy day. And you're like, are you really? I mean, that has something to do with it too, So anyway, and I've heard that sung at a baptism that slow, and you're like, oh, okay, we need to go. That's going to be exciting. So, but we're glad that everybody's out. Encourage everybody to continue to come to these Sunday afternoon services. If you have ideas that you'd like to see us, we've got song service. We had a prayer service last time. There's things we just want to get together as brethren, spend some time together, learn these things. So before we go, Gist, will you lead us in a closing prayer?
Heavenly Father, we are thankful for the talents that you give your children. We pray, Father, that you would bless those that are gifted in this area of music, Heavenly Father, that they might share with us the ways that we can more effectively worship you in spirit and in truth in our singing. Thank you for Ryan and his efforts. Thank you for the training he has that his parents gave him, and grandmother and others, Father, who have both seen the importance of trying to present your words through beautiful music. And we thank you, Father, for everyone who came out today. And please keep us safe, and we pray that this coming week that we might be able to be out more than we have been, and might encourage others, Father, to do what is right. Thank you for our visitors. Thank you for our young Christians, that we might encourage them, and the mothers with small children, that you bless them. Yes, Father, in all things that you might receive the glory. That's the purpose that you created us for, to glorify and honor you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ryan, where do you want us to go?
Keep them. Keep them. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, sorry.